All right. Welcome to Just Magic the Gathering. I took some time yesterday to revamp my landfall deck and just actually improve a couple of my decks in general. As far as my lifelink deck, I was running into a problem with that Enduring Courage where I don't actually have anything that does exile. I need to be able to kill and exile. There are definitely black cards that do that, and I thought Mortify was and exile, but it's not. So I did a little bit of tweaking on this deck. I also threw in my Enduring Tenacities. I really like how the Enduring Tenacities play, and the reason I didn't have them in my lifelink deck is because they don't actually have lifelink, but they do give the ability that when I gain life, you lose life, and that is really handy in a lifelink deck. So I took out the war leaders, the boom, 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 and put in my Enduring Tenacities. I also did a little bit of balancing on. I took out, I think it was one of my Mortifies and one of my Nowhere, or one and two of my Fells maybe, and added in some Strategic Betrayals. So this, they sacrifice a creature if they only have one. It's obvious which one they have to sacrifice. You can almost force it by specially playing like, oh, I kill one and then force you to sacrifice your other one. And their graveyard goes with it. So things that would normally come back, like the Endurings, don't. And it's really handy. And it's not the only... The Endurings aren't the only ones that kind of go to your graveyard and come back, because this will take out something like... Vincent, where when he dies, he goes to the graveyard, but then he comes back. If you get it for the sacrifice, he won't come back, and it's pretty nice. There's a few times where Strategic Betrayal, and I've pulled a bunch into Takir. Takir is actually my most completed set, so I had a full set of these if I wanted. But yeah, at a certain point I did run this another like 2 or 3 times yesterday, and it held up really well. I did run into a landfall deck that I lost to, which I thought was interesting, or it's been a while since my lifelink deck has actually lost to a landfall deck. I took some time to revamp my landfall deck to have Zell in it. I actually have that video to be uploaded, and I should link it. The one thing that they had that really they used effectively was the World Weave. Whenever you cast a creature spell, seek a land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So every time he was playing a creature, he was getting land. In a way, I actually wish I recorded the game, because it was impressive on a couple levels. Because he also worked with pulling stuff out of his graveyard, because he actually ran the World Shaper with it. Whenever it attacks, you can mill 3 cards. When it dies, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So when I actually did just straight kill this creature, he got a bunch of land out of the deal. And he was, as opposed to doing like the token pump like I do, he was going wide. It was an interesting combination of mechanics that basically stopped me in my tracks. I had a fair amount of control, but I just couldn't out-control it. Part of it was that he had multiple enchantments and artifacts, and or even his lands, that he was using his lands to pull the things out of his graveyard. And because the World Weave was getting him his lands back, or it was an interesting mechanic. Because yeah, once he got all of his lands back out of his graveyard, then he was able to pull more creatures out of his graveyard for basically free. Yeah, I was pretty impressed with the mechanic. with that being said, I was entertaining throwing one of the World Weaves into this deck. I pretty much burned all my tokens. 30 common, 3 uncommon, 0 rare, and 2 mythic. It is a mythic, so I could exchange for one of them, and I was thinking about what I would take out for it. That was the main thing I was kind of struggling on. I did exchange for a third walk-in closet, which allows me to play my cards from my graveyard. In a way, I kind of like that over the World Shaper, but this gets him all back when he dies, and I have one of them. I don't know, at a certain point, there are a lot of ways you can run decks and a lot of ways you can play Magic, and yeah. This deck currently has no alchemy in it, even though I normally play it in alchemy, and that allows it to be standard compliant. If I threw the World Weave in there, it is locked into alchemy, but I do like the looks of that. So, in some ways, that's neither here nor there. If I go back to, I was just looking to work my grind a little. Red or green, green or blue. Well, my red-green deck is looking promising for knocking out my dailies. And I guess no better time than to try and showcase my landfall deck with its changes. Hopefully I can get this to work right. Because, yeah, this, if I can get it to trigger right, I can get almost 8 landfalls in a single round. With Zell out, I can play 2 of the Terramorphic Expanses, which turn into 4 by proccing them, and if I have my bird out, that's 8, and it just ramps insanely quickly. I did also Google about the Ice-Till Explorer. If I ran the Ice-Till Explorer and Zell, I could drop 3 lands per round. It's slow, but I like the looks of it. Scry 1. At a certain point, I am slowed down. I'll take the forest. That'll give me enough tokens or enough mana to be able to play Zaz's Castroy. Going for a basic land. He's playing blue-red with a desert. I'm actually wondering if I swap this over to... Because the deserts went out of vogue, if you will. Let's see if he just straight kills her. He's playing red-blue, so he has direct damage. I'm assuming he has another one of those 2 damages up his sleeve. Three damage. Any target. When you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. So I maybe should have waited for the Overprotect with Tifa. And I absolutely should have played my Chocobo first, before my land. At this point, I do have enough mana down for... So he has a boon that allows him to copy a spell. Has to be this turn, though. So I'm going to resolve the first one that he gets going to copy. I'll just go ahead and protect him. And this will allow me to pull my duplication bird. So. No Zell yet. And in a way it's slowed down, or he has 5 and he's ramping up. It doesn't look like either of us have a draw mechanic. So for 3, I can play the Traveling Chocobo. I was wondering, because I can also play like the Verge or the Terramorphic Expanse. If I got Tifa down for my last 2, it's basically game over next round if he can't wipe her. Blue-red. Do. Let's see what he does. Oh, the Verge. I have been trying to pay a little more attention to some of the lands that my opponents use. He doesn't like my Traveling Chocobo. No real surprises there. With that being said, I can still basically just push through. He'll block my Chocobo over Tifa, I think. Let's see what he does. He can at least kill Tifa if he blocks. He just chose no blocks. That's interesting. Next spell you cast can be doubled. And he has the mana to basically do a kill. But only 1 card. Surprised he didn't push that back to a Chocobo. Must not have had enough to do the over damage. At this point, just place Tifa again. I'll be able to double trigger it next time if he doesn't kill her. That was the reason for not pushing through, if you will. No blocks. So, yeah. Probably should good game him. So yeah, that's game. 16-2 trample. He has no cards in his hands. I mean, he can't do anything about that. And I actually just realized I could have played my Evolving Wilds and gotten her up to 32. But yeah. Well, and with the red in there, it performed all right. But yeah, with that being said, I think I'm going to call it. and look forward to playing some Magic in the future.